All right, welcome back to Off the Tap. This is the first episode of season two, I guess you could call it. We've had a long break. Didn't really mean to, but scheduling and other things kind of got in the way. Um, Sean and Andrew aren't able to do the podcast with me anymore as Andrew has gone back to pursue his master's degree, which is great. And Sean lives in Utah now, so he's unable to get his hands on really any beer that I can get my hands on. So it makes doing ratings very difficult. But stepping in to fill in and co-host the show with me is my brother Stefan, and we're gonna try to make the experience great. Still, we got a whole new rating system coming into to play. Very difficult, but that's what we do. No big deal.
Yeah, so just for a split second, let me cut in here and say that, human nature tends to really overcomplicate everything. Doesn't matter if it's a hand soap, a sponge, doesn't matter what it is. We take it to the extreme. What's the most efficient or effective way to communicate the value of said product one over another or usefulness? And we've kind of taken this concept to that level with our rating system. But
Right.
continue.
It's more of a step up. We're gonna get a little bit more in depth in the rating. But we're going to start this new season or new direction of the podcast with a not necessarily a tournament. We're gonna do a tier list of some Oktoberfest beers. Scheduling again kind of took into effect and ruined our plans originally, but we're
Tooken.
handling it as we can
Tooken.
go.
It's a very unique phrase, tooken. That's the
T-
past tense of
t-
taken, which is
taken.
already
Yeah,
past tense. But you do
that's
you, bro. That's way past tense.
that's what we. Yeah, exactly. Things
Okay.
happen, man.
Did it? All right.
And we're gonna start it off with Texas Beer Co.'s Oktaylorfest versus Odell Brewing Oktoberfest. So
All right.
both of these are obviously Marzen. Is that how you pronounce that?
I would
Marzen.
assume.
That's the
Is
American
this,
way to pronounce it.
yeah.
Marzen.
Marzan. Marzan.
German
Marzan.
German style brews. Oktoberfest are some of my favorite styles of beer.
I will agree with that. Although I will say I don't know enough about, and I guess this we should start off with this. I don't know enough about what makes an Oktoberfest an Oktoberfest. So I'll go ahead and divulge that I'm not educated enough to understand what qualifies something. Is it the fact that it's Marzen? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure because Marzen is a German style of brew, and obviously Oktoberfest is, a German thing. So
Is it too early for me to Google that? We'll let that ride, huh? I'd feel guilty this early in
no, I mean let's
Googling.
let's get the facts out. You know what I mean? Let's figure it out.
Here we go.
But I'm pretty sure
It's
that's what it's for.
It's probably going to come back as like some type of textile company. It's going to be like Mars and Tile. That's what Google's going to return. Actually, no, here we go. It's a lager originated in Bavaria, has a medium to full body and may vary in color. It was a beer traditionally served at the Munich Oktoberfest. That's kind of like defining a word using the same word, in my opinion,
Pretty
because all
much.
it told me is that it's an Oktoberfest beer. But let me read some additional stuff here. 16th century. Oh, here's the thing. It's a beer that's brewed only between the 29th of September and the 23rd of April. So more like fall slash winter, but I mean, I guess October considering its start date. Um, the high temperature is required to heat and boil the ingredients in the kettle, so explosions were an issue originally in brewing it.
All right.
Um, I don't want to get off topic, but and I know that we talked about it a little bit earlier, but spending a good bit of time this past weekend in Charleston, bro, fires were a real thing at one point. Like we take for granted that like people are fighting fires and have fire prevention. Like that city was burned like 3 times. And so like people's fear of fire is legit, so I understand why they were restricting brewing of this particular beer to those dates. Because I'm telling you, dude,
That's
that
crazy.
shit's real. I mean, literally, City burned like 3 times, completely to the ground. And it wasn't even like relevant. I know we're way off topic here, but that wasn't even relevant to like things happening. Like it did happen multiple times during the Civil War, but completely unrelated to like war itself. Some guys were frying fish one time by the bay, set the whole city on fire
Oh
on
my
accident.
god.
True story, because they just weren't fighting fires back then. But anyways, I digress. Based on when it's brewed, and based on seasonality is what makes the Marzen itself. But it's a variable colored lighter lager of German descent.
Okay, now
By
I
the
know.
by the way, March is Marzen, so that's what that means.
So is that when they start brewing it or something?
No, I don't know. That's just March beer is what Marzen means. Maybe that's the dead center of September and April if you're loose with a calendar. It was the 1500s. It's not like everybody had one. You know what I mean?
Right, right. The Mayan calendar hadn't exactly been discovered yet.
No, they weren't looking down at their phone going, "Oh, it's definitely March." They were just
Yeah.
like, "Hey, it's been a while since we started brewing this. It's probably March." You know what I mean?
They were just kind of winging it.
They were.
They're
So
like
should we
it's
crack?
hot enough, you know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. We're gonna get into it. So I'm gonna, or I think we're both gonna do the Oktaylorfest first.
Yes.
Let's get
All
into
right. So a
that.
decent crack.
All
Should I
right.
smell it out of the can before I get a pour here? I think.
Oh yeah, I should try to get a sniff.
Oh,
Okay. It's got a decent smell. It's also got an ABV of 6.0, and
6.0.
I could not find the IBUs on it.
The can says 6.7.
Oh, does it?
Is there that much variability in their quality control that
Ooh,
they're
maybe.
just like six give or take? Six give or take.
Now I'll be real.
That's
The ABVs I found online. I didn't have the cans in front of me when I was doing the list that I have here.
oh,
So
okay.
maybe
Well,
something changed over the years. Maybe this brew is just a little stronger.
I
Um,
would almost imagine too with some of the smaller breweries, like the independently owns, that like yeah they target six. I'm sure they have quality control. I take back my original statement about a small mom and pop shop not being able to control their process, but maybe it started out as a six, but like seasonally, because there is variability. Even if you look at like Sam Adams, don't get me wrong. I hate to bring up the mothership of all motherships as far as Oktoberfest is concerned. But there's variability from season to season, even with a brewery like that. So it could be that maybe it was originally a six, but seasonally, Taylor Brewing at this point. Actually, I don't want to misspeak. Texas
it's
Beer
out of
Company,
Taylor.
excuse me, out of Taylor, Texas. Maybe this year's launch is a 6.7. I
Yeah,
don't know.
maybe. They did change their can up a little bit this I don't know if that was this year or years, like a recent year, but it used to be like a orange and green
Hmm.
can, and now it's a blue and more traditional Oktoberfest blue and white.
Yeah, yet again, another question that I wish that could be answered for me. I mean, we answered the Marzen question. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole. But why, historically, is it the blue checker with white with gold? Why is that a thing?
Think it relates to a flag, maybe?
Possibly, it reminds me a lot of what like a knight. This is unrelated 100%, but what a knight would wear on his horse if he was jousting. Think about it.
Yeah, it's the diamond, it's like the diamond look. I can't think of
And
the word.
I don't. It's like a
Design,
pattern,
pattern.
but it's
There you
also
go.
it's also like super decorative for that time. Like we look at the can now, and if it was like obviously there's other things on the can, but like if we looked at this can right now, we'd be like, oh, that's a fairly generic pattern. But back in the Gap, bro, you're throwing blue
Oh,
checkers and
dude.
a white sheet on a horse. You
Bro,
kidding me?
and it's not even check. It's like it's a diagonal checker.
Yeah, I mean
You know
they're
what I mean?
diamonds essentially.
They were getting fancy with it.
Yeah, so I assume that was a way to really up your ride. Nobody was pimping rides back then. Like you just throw in a
Right.
sheet with some diamonds on your horse.
Somebody put their blanket on sideways or like at a 45 and people freaked out. That's what happened.
There's that, and also you got to have something if you want. What do? They ask for the queen's or the princess's blessing or whatever with the wreaths and all. You got to have
Yeah.
something to lure them in, and apparently, baby blue on a white background is the game changer, in
That
my
was,
opinion.
yeah, obviously it won somebody's heart.
A year after year after year, if they were bringing it back seasonally.
Exactly.
But anyways,
Okay,
six
so
point
yeah,
seven percent.
so 6.7 on this one. And the ratings that we're gonna do here, we're still gonna do an overall rating of how we feel about the beer. Um, how much we like it, but we're gonna do entry, which I kind of let you explain these. I think you.
Yeah, again, there's a number of categories here. They're all going to be ranked from they get a 1 being the lowest score, 6 being the highest score, totaling up. There's 7 categories. So a total of 6 times 7 is 42. So a total of 42 points can be awarded to like overall best in show, I guess. But entry is
And
based on your. Go ahead.
that scale of the seven different categories there, we're going to go based on how we feel like it should be,
Yes,
right?
100%.
It's
It's all based on perception.
right. So how we feel like it matches up to how an Oktoberfest should be.
Correct. So, like, and actually, we talked about this a little bit beforehand, but like, all of these, thankfully, over the coming weeks are going to be all Oktoberfest, all the Marzen, if you will. You can rewind by like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 minutes and figure out what that is. But, anyways, the Marzen style beer of Oktoberfest. So, this is going to be apples to apples over the next couple of weeks. But ultimately, it's based on individual perception on the type of beer that you're drinking. So if we were comparing a Marzen to, say your run of the mill Bush Light, I mean, there is no comparison there. But if there was to be a comparison, it would be your perception of a stereotypical light um, lager slash pilsner versus this, but it's all how it fits within that category, if that makes sense. So you could have like a top notch stout because it fits every single of these categories that I will explain. I promise I'll stop rambling. But if it meets, if it scores a 6 in all of the categories based on your perception of a stout, then it is a top rated stout. And let's say it scores 42 points, best in show. But as it compares to the way we feel about an Oktoberfest, if the Oktoberfest is also the best iteration of an Oktoberfest based on our perception, then they can be equal as far as overall rating, if that makes sense. It kind of gives you a uniform, even with like individual taste, preference, and judgment, it gives you a uniform scale to compare apples to oranges. But in this case, over the next couple of weeks, it's going to be just apples to apples.
Right.
Talk about over explain. But nonetheless, so
Oh, we're
categories
just
that
getting
we're start
started.
yeah, so categories that we're starting out with, and this will be a common theme throughout as we go. But just to kind of lay the groundwork here, entry is the initial intake of the beer, right? So your initial, as soon as it touches the lips, the smell, the initial intake, does it give you the impression of what was written on the can, right? So that's entry. Aftertaste would be the after fact, right? You've already swallowed, you've rid your mouth of said fluid. How it sits remaining inside your palate is the aftertaste. Is the perception of that or the experience of that fitting to what your mind would assume goes with the type of beer that you're drinking? Body overall would be kind of like similar to mouthfeel. Um, Color obviously is the color of the beverage, so I'll be pouring one so that we can kind of view it week by week. Bitterness again goes without saying, but the bitterness of the brew as compared to what your perception is for that particular genre. Acidity would be, it's very closely related to bitterness, but I almost equate it to like, I guess it's different for beers, but the way that you think about wine, right? Everybody's like, oh, I drink a red wine because it's dry, right? That's actually tied back to the bitterness of the wine, and we're going to do something very similar for the beers here. Um, Obviously, the opposite end of that spectrum could be something that's super sweet, like some of your wheat beers, I guess, per se, might be lower on the bitterness. However, if we were judging a wheat beer, which we're not today, but if we were judging a wheat beer and it was the right amount of sweetness, it could still score a 6 out of the 1 through 6 score for bitterness, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because wheat beers are naturally sweeter. Excuse me. Sorry, that was for acidity. And then fizz is just the overall um, experience with head and or foam and or I think
Carbonation.
everyone, yeah, carbonation, if you will, right? So I think everybody has a different personal preference when it comes to carbonated waters, and really what you're judging is the carbonated slash fizziness. Some are a little over, some are a little under, and it just depends on where you sit on that scale. But so that's entry, aftertaste, body, color, bitterness, acidity, and fizz. And I guess we don't have to call out individual scores, but if we ranked them on the side, we can give a total at the end, and then we can go back through the each category if need be.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be a learning process as we go too. We'll figure
Yeah,
out how to do it. But
100.
I'm gonna get into it and taste this thing.
Okay, let's do it.
You know. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be honest. There's like two pretty fatal. I don't want to say this because we haven't tasted any other ones, but there's like two pretty fatal flaws for me right out of the gate.
I was unable to get the IBUs, but it's got a little bit of a bitterness to it to me.
It does, but I don't think it's terrible. Like
Uh-uh.
again, I know we're not giving out ratings here, but I would put it dead center, right? It's not overly bitter, putting it on the lower end, but it's also not extremely um, under bitter. I mean, it's not. It's still more bitter than I would assume. So I'm putting it dead center as far as bitterness.
So my
But to me,
scale, like my Oktoberfest scale, is pretty much going to be based off of St. Arnold's Oktoberfest
okay.
because I think that's my favorite that I've had up to this point. Um, so in my head, that's like the perfect Oktoberfest right now.
So in mine, it's gonna be again. Maybe it's just because of exposure, but I'm gonna go with Sam Adams, just because you drink a million of something and that becomes your standard, right?
Right.
Although Bush Light's my standard otherwise, so take everything I say with a grain of
Ugh.
salt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We got a
But
real issue with taste buds in this one.
yeah, exactly. But so yeah, based on my foundation, I'm gonna say bitterness wise, I'm having a little bit of a struggle, but also there's a sweetness that ranks it, out of the gate fairly low on the
Yeah,
acidity scale for me.
it does have a pretty sweet flavor. Even the
Yeah,
aftertaste is pretty sweet.
it's almost like yeah, and it's almost like I'm not super familiar with all of the brewing process, but it's almost like they stopped it too soon, right? They didn't let the yeast eat off enough of that sugar, in my opinion. But I'm not
Yeah.
a brewer.
I mean, I have no idea about that kind of stuff, so, you know,
Yeah,
take that
I'm
with a
sure
grain
we
of
could.
salt, but
I'm sure we could chime in the experts on this. But again, it's all based on my perception, and so therefore I'm right today, and well, I'll continue to be right. But anywho, yeah, a little sweet for me.
I think it looks the part though. I mean,
Oh,
it has a great
100
color.
100%. Seems a little hazy, but not overly hazy, if that makes sense.
Maybe that's what's giving it the bitterness is the haze.
Yeah, we also could have had the bottom of the barrel. Independent brewing is a tough job, bro. I could
Oh, I
only
can imagine.
imagine that there's a good bit of variability that happens compared to the billions of gallons of, again, trash beer that are rolling off the line day by day.
Yeah. Um,
I'm. Go ahead.
I oh no, I was also gonna say is just I think it's got it's a little sweet um
Yep.
for an Oktoberfest, but it does have like the flavors in it are fall,
Oh
which
yeah,
which I
for
don't
sure.
necessarily think is always the intention of an Oktoberfest because it's like the end of or it's kind of like the middle of fall, beginning of fall, I guess.
Well, the range in months, apparently. Well, you know what? I think that we, being in Texas, we only associate fall with like literally 3 weeks of October.
Yeah,
But for the rest of the world,
I
they
was gonna
have
say
like
2 weeks of
actual.
November, but
See, perception is real. Perception is real.
yeah,
Um, because it can vary that much from what 40 miles apart. But Yeah, nonetheless, I think our perception of seasonality is drastically different. But you're right, it doesn't have a fall taste, and for longer falls, it probably fits the mold more than we would assume.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
No.
much sure I have my rankings. I mean, we don't necessarily have to go through it right now, but I'm going to keep this and keep going on it.
Right, right. We'll get to it at the we'll do it at the end so we can compare, both of them.
Yeah, agreed.
Um all right, well, we're recording this on October 11th. Um Astros just had their first playoff game of 2022, and boy did it end in dramatic style.
Yeah.
Man.
So a couple of things to include here. Also, I mean, I don't know if you're even comfortable with me giving the shout out, but it's also your birthday, so happy
It
birthday.
is. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. But the that was a very lackluster birthday celebration. We need like some crowd noise. We need some Seinfeld laugh tracks. That's what we need.
Woo,
Woo!
yeah.
All right. Anywho,
Yeah.
was that a real laugh track? Because dude, you played that off. It looked like you hit a button.
No, I didn't. I got a few
Oh.
things on a soundboard, but I don't have a laugh track.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's just what I thought of. Some background noise. Think about watching a sitcom from back then without a laugh track, dude. Game changer.
Oh God.
But
I'll
anywho,
tell you what though, if I'm being completely honest, going off track a little bit, I love
so am I.
sitcoms now without laugh tracks.
So okay, so
It's
I hear
it's
you.
just they're so much better.
They are, well, two things. I think it's a different style sitcom, first off. It's not the what we designed and understood to be a sitcom from back in the day. But the second piece of it is this. To me, and you can disagree if you wish, but to me, it's the modern reality version of sitcoms. They've realityed sitcoms by removing the laugh track. Think about it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, Anyway, I just thought about it the other day because me and Katie are rewatching Seinfeld for like the I don't know for the hundredth
Arguably the
time.
greatest sitcom of all time.
Agreed, 100%. But oh no, actually, Cheers is my number one. But that could be arguable just based on where you were at in life whenever these were going on. Anywho, notice there's a lot of laugh track, and I thought to myself, what would this have been without it? But back on topic. So, well, slightly off topic. So realize today, because I don't give in to the big mass media of satellite television and or cable. So watched well, not every, but I would say I watched 80% of the season at home, or through the Fubo app, right through AT&T Sportsnet.
Yeah.
Listen to all these plugs that I'm just giving, as if our audience is massive enough to really dictate their behavior on that plug. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I listened enough. I mean, I watched as much as I could through Fubo, whether I was on the road or whether I was home. Guess what Fubo does not carry?
TBS.
TBS. So, of all of the
Hell
games, I'm not.
no.
Dude, I don't know. Contractually, I guess they fought too hard for AT&T Sportsnet. I don't know. Maybe they're paying
Dude,
bills otherwise.
that
It's a
sucks too
shoddy run
because the
organization.
entire American League playoffs is on TBS.
100%. So
Oh no.
I found myself today. I'm in the office, right? And I was like, all right, I'm gonna put the game on. It'll be great. I'll run it in the background for the first couple of hours when I'm finishing up work. And literally could not find TBS. And I was like, damn it, I know it's got to be on here, right? So I'm looking, can't find TBS. So I had to do what I had, which basically is the only reason, if you think about this, the only reason I moved forward with Fubo is because I was kind of not burnt out, but I was tired of listening to every single baseball game. And what did I find myself doing? The first game of this year's playoffs, listening to the game. Now, that being said, to tune in after I searched and searched and couldn't find it, to tune in like I think it was like the third or fourth inning, we were already down by like 4 runs at that point, or maybe the gap was, let's say, three. It was like 4-2 at this point, maybe 2 runs, something like that. So I'm like, oh great! Not only am I not going to be able to watch it, but I'm going to have to listen to them lose slowly over the remainder of time. But I think that it drastically, for me, increased the excitement whenever Jordan hits a walk-off in the bottom of the ninth via radio, right?
with 2 outs.
With 2 outs, right? And that to me, and like kids screaming, right? We were getting done with dinner, kids are screaming, like everything's off the rails, and just to hear that announcer get increasingly louder and more excited and more excited and louder, I was like, you know what? Obviously, I'm gonna have to listen to most of them on TV, at least the AL. I mean, the division series. I don't know about the. What about the ALCS? Is it on
I'm pretty
TBS
sure
as
it's on
well?
TBS. Yeah,
Son of a gun.
I think
So,
everything up to the World Series is on. Well, for the American League, everything up to the World Series is on TBS.
what do they split it when it gets to the World Series? Is it Fox then TBS?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that it switches back and forth every year, if I remember correct. So like next year, Fox will get the American League, and TBS will get the National League. I think it goes like
So
that.
So ultimately, I'm either going to have to do a couple of things. I'm either going to have to buy the MLB app or um, break down and get something that carries TBS. But here's the thing, I'm back into listening based on today's experience. Now, it's with radio, it's a quick turnaround, dude. If I have to listen to them lose on Thursday, then yeah, then I'm gonna have to buy TBS. But if they win again Tuesday via radio, or Thursday via radio, then dude, I might be in until we win the ALCS. You like the way I had to correct my phrasing there?
Yeah,
Until we win the ALCS, yes.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I get you, man. Had I got into a spot in my room. First of all, I started watching it on my computer. Okay, very superstitious guy. I was watching on my computer.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was watching it on my
So,
computer because that's what I've been doing for like the past 2 months. Right when I figured out we switched to DirecTV Stream back in
right.
June or something, and the TV in my office started messing up, and so I started watching on my computer, and that's just what I've been doing. So I threw them on my computer and watched like the first 4 innings maybe, and I think it was like 4-2, or maybe it was 6-2 at that point. And I was like, man, I'm just gonna throw it on my TV and chill, I guess.
Here's the thing. How quickly do we turn dime on superstition? Immediately, you're like, oh, I got to
Oh,
watch it on the computer because that's what I've been doing. We've been doing pretty good. And then as soon
immediately,
as it
bro.
turns, you're like, my superstition was trash. I need to start a new superstition.
Dude,
But
yeah.
continue.
And so I turned on the TV, and I think we scored one more. That was when Yuli hit the solo shot. It was 6-3,
Yeah, it's the next inning.
and I was like, all right. So I'm chilling, and then I'm eating dinner. I moved spots to eat dinner, and as soon as I get my food down in front of me, they hit a solo shot. So it was 7-3, and I was like, fuck, man, this is it, dude. They're
Yeah.
they're done now. They're down 4. The Mariners are hot, one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. Um, I got done eating. It was the bottom of the 8th inning, I think, and Bregman came up, and I positioned myself in the spot in my room where I could feel the air conditioning on my back, and it was
Oh,
kind of at a weird angle where I had to kind of turn my head to the right to watch the TV, and Bregman went yard, and I was like, okay, now I can't move, right?
okay, so
I
I'm
can't
glad you
move.
said that. I thought for a second that you had it running in one room based on the layout. I thought you had it running in one room and then also running in another room, and where you were at looking at AC, you were peering at both. And so for the rest of the game, you were stuck going side to side to side to side. But either way, you were still holding the same position.
No, yeah. So I sat there, and top of the ninth came up, handled it no problem. Got to the bottom of the ninth, and there needs to be something said really quickly about
Yeah.
the fact that Hensley gets thrown in to the bottom of the ninth inning as a rookie. He's been up in the majors for like 4 weeks, dude, maybe a
Actually, we
month.
saw. No, remember we saw him. When did we go? We went in.
Wasn't at the beginning. Oh, it was the end of August, so like 5-6 weeks maybe he's been up,
On and off, but that was his first game, so he's been up and down ever since. But yeah, go ahead.
dude. And he comes in and gets well. Actually, he got hit by a pitch, but it was technically a walk, right, bro?
Take it.
Right, 1 out. We got a rookie on first base. Well, it was Jake Myers came in to run, but anyways, the rookie got on for us,
Yeah.
and then Jeremy Pena, the other rookie,
So, and
comes
by the
up.
way, mind you, down in the count,
Yeah, 1-2,
1-2,
cranks a slider up the gut, right? The pitch that he struggles with the most, the slider.
100%. In fact, I would love to see the statistics on not only him hitting that in general, but in late in the game in such a press situation. I'm sure somebody will run that, but go ahead.
It was also in this bottom of the ninth inning that I started. I have my therapy bike beside me where I'm sitting at, and I'm just touching the handle of it, just bouncing my hand on the handle of it, and I'm
Yeah.
just singing the same song over and over, the chorus to one song over and over again. And I kept doing it the whole time. And Hensley got on, and then Pena got on, and I was like, oh my God. And then they switched pitchers for Jordan. They brought in a
Yeah.
lefty to face Jordan, and in my head, I just thought all year Dusty Baker said that he was so worried about Tucker and Jordan against left-handed pitchers, and this would be the exact moment for him to prove them wrong again.
Right.
And what does he do on pitch 2, bro? I'm
Yeah.
just sitting there smacking my hand with my head at an angle, haven't moved since the 8th inning. 434 foot, 116.7 miles per hour off the bat, bro. And line drive into the second deck to walk it off, bro.
So here's the thing. I didn't get to see it, and I didn't get to hear all of it except for obviously the crescendo of radio announcer. But what makes it even more bittersweet is I have a guy that works for me that lives in Missouri, and he's a huge Cardinals fans. All right, and he literally texts me as they're switching pitchers, right, during the commercial break or whatever, or the time break. I don't know exactly. And he's like, "Oh man, sorry, Stros are gonna lose. Should have known." And I responded, I'm like, "All right, I got to keep the trash talking up because obviously it's postseason." And I was like, "Dude, those are awful lofty words coming from Mister Sweep in the wild card, right?"
Right.
And he was like, "Oh, it is what it is, right? Like they had this and this." And like at that moment, as he's typing, the bubbles are showing up in text. I hear kids screaming. I hear the announcer crescendo just woo, 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 woo happening, and I'm like, "Bubbles, bubbles, 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 stop!" And then bubbles pop back up, and they're like, "Well, I guess you guys win." And I was like, "Dude, shut your mouth." So all of those combined is what made the moment. And I do feel, had I been watching on TV, it might not have been the same, even though it would have been great to see the rope to the upper deck.
Yeah. So here's the other thing that I want to just complain about really quickly is all year. First of all, the ESPN app on your phone is one of the worst apps on the planet. It's always late with notifications. Um,
See, for those of us entirely, it's usually early. But go ahead.
well, that's the thing. Is today they were insanely early.
Ah,
So I was getting notifications before stuff was happening.
did you shut off the notifications?
Dude, I was the whole ninth inning. I had my head at an angle also up where I couldn't see my phone light up, and so every pitch I was just doing this, little like so my
Dude,
chin was blocking the phone.
but so here's the thing. I know. Well, I mean, I guess I get a bunch of notifications, but I just assume in my head it still takes away the thrill and the excitement because I just assume like if I'm sitting here and my phone's upside down or maybe it's over on the other side of the desk and I'm watching the game, like if it buzzes and then something happens good in the game, it still takes away because I'm like, oh, like my phone already knew. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that kind of happened to me in 2017 whenever we won the series.
Yeah.
Because we had a bunch of people over here watching. Well, not a bunch. It was like 5 of us over here watching out in the backyard, and my phone didn't get a notification, but Mom's did.
Oh.
Mom got a notification from the Fox News app that said
And
the
what did
Astro,
she?
and then the very next pitch is when they grounded out to Altuve to win it, and I was like, "Oh my God!"
Did she
All this
say
time,
anything?
yes. She looked at it. She goes,
Oh.
"The Astros won the World Series."
She probably wasn't even watching the
Dude,
television at
I
that
was like,
point.
"Mom, we're watching. What are you doing?"
Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, she was just calling it like it is, man. She was just calling the
And
shots, you
she was
know.
just excited. It happens to all of us.
That's
But
true.
yeah, so the baseball gods shine down upon me on my birthday, and Lordon Alvarez comes through in the clutch,
Dude, okay. Oh,
saves the day.
Listen, I got to back up so I know that maybe listeners don't necessarily know, but like I did not believe that this particular man was capable of doing anything but swinging a bat, albeit he great at that, okay? But I have been exponentially impressed at the volume of field play. And I don't mean just today. Obviously, he had the home plate throw today that was killer. Um, he had, I think there was another fly ball that he at least tracked down on the morning track. Like again, today aside, which was stellar. He's had some pretty crazy field work compared to, and I know they him in, and obviously with Uncle Mike out, like there's other things, they're rotating through folks, so he's getting probably a lot more play time than normal. But I've been very impressed at the of him stepping up. Right, they always talk about rookies stepping up. The rookie really stepped up, and I think
Yeah.
he has drastically in field play. I still think his valuable thing about him. Don't get me wrong, but at
Yeah.
least he holds. I don't have a sense of insecurity when he's in the field like I do with other folks that might have a mediocre bat, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the one thing that I always worried about him is just because he's so big. Like
With
I never I
injuries,
I never doubted his like ability. I don't doubt his ability to play defense. I worry more
speed.
about his health. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I think there's a lot of health, and don't get me wrong. Like I think yes, there's a lot of potential health concerns because a frame is just doesn't bode well with age and compression and running and whatever over time. He's also not the fastest guy in the world, but I mean, uh,
He just
I
has
guess
such
if you
long strides because
he
he's so damn
does,
big.
but I guess if you have a decent enough positioning
Well, and
and
the
a
fact
decent enough
that
bat.
the minute left field in Minute Maid Park is so small,
Oh yeah, I know.
so
And you realize they don't really. I mean, I don't know what his away game versus home game in is as far as coverage, but
I
they
know
pretty
I'm
much
pretty
try
sure
and set him up.
I'm pretty sure he plays more defense at home than anything.
Yeah.
It
Either
depends
way,
on the stadium, I think.
I've been impressed overall with his ability, even inside something like Minute Maid, a more controlled atmosphere. His ability to deliver on a defensive front compared to the trash that I talked about him at least a year ago, or even less than a year ago.
And I mean, regardless of him being able to track a ball or whatever, the man has a cannon.
He does,
He
does,
can
and maybe
throw a
that.
damn baseball.
And I think also maybe that's what contributes to the power that he has in a bat. I mean, there's
Yeah,
probably some correlation there. I don't know. He's a big dude, nonetheless.
yeah, exactly. It's fun to watch,
So
but
I'm super. Go ahead.
I also don't like to be one to bloat or anything. I
Oh
just had to talk about it.
no,
Not
one
bloat,
hundred percent
gloat, gloat.
gloat.
I do, dude.
Well, I mean, I do, especially if we're. I mean, this is not back to the beer if we want to for a second. Little let down by the fizz.
Yeah, a little
I
bit.
think that's, and again, not just really trying to drive it home, but I think it ties into the sugar. It's almost like it wasn't finished. We would have had more bubble, less sweetness had they finished it. But yeah, I don't necessarily gloat either. To be honest with you, even if this was not, I mean, obviously it adds to the volume of intensity. But even if it wasn't the first game of the series, it was a dang good game. Like it was the turnout ended up being great for us, right? So it was exciting nonetheless. Like I'm celebrating the excitement, not so much the fact that we won. You know what I
Yeah, I agree.
mean?
It was very rough for the beginning of the game, but it turned around. Once we actually started putting together good at bats and not just swinging at the first pitch every time, it got more interesting.
Although Yuli hit a first, was it a first? No, it was a second pitch because the first one was a ball. There were two first pitch home runs though.
Yuli showed up and showed out today. My boy went 4 for 4, really, honestly. But the fourth one that he hit got caught because it was a 120-mile-an-hour laser to the left fielder.
So that, but also I want to come back to this. So I think a lot of folks were saying, I say a lot of folks, there were like a couple of announcers, and then I read like a feed somewhere. We're talking about it could be because of the volume of rest that he's had coming into this game. So okay, that's great, awesome, maybe. But how do you feel about this whole split first two games of the series, right? Because historically,
Yeah, this is really
you don't get
weird
an
to me.
Yeah, I agree, and it does concern me, even though who's Fromber's pitching Thursday?
Yeah, but it's really weird because like they're doing all four game ones tonight, right?
Hmm.
And then I think the National League is playing tomorrow,
Correct.
and then the American League is playing Thursday,
Correct.
and then National League
Friday.
Friday and Saturday,
Correct.
and then like I don't know why they decided to start them all on the same. Like usually they don't do that. That's just weird.
I, maybe for timing. I mean, I guess it's not that much later. It's the
Also,
11th, but
it needs to be said. I know that the Yankees are a big market. I get it. Okay, they're one of the longest franchises in baseball history. I understand. They're the number two seed in the American League. The
yeah.
Astros are the number one seed, and we've been to the ALCS for 5 out of the 6 years, last 6 years,
Are
and
you fussing about prime time?
we're getting the day games.
Okay, so where is I think it comes down to the second seed, right? Or not the second seed, the third 3-4 seed. Where are the Mariners in regards to Cleveland? Are they 3 or 4?
I believe they're four.
The Mariners are?
Yeah, I think so.
So then that
Because
puts us
Cleveland won their division.
correct. So I think that's the way that they sell it. I mean, this is the same argument as like college football ranking, okay? So it's just a group of folks that make up the difference, but I think the 3-2 seed overpowers the 1-4, not because of average, but because of that's the way I think it was sold to me in the past.
I
Because I
get it,
not this year
but
did I have the argument, but it was when Boston was in it, and obviously they were getting all the primetime games, and I was like, "Fuck, are you kidding me?" They snuck in barely. In fact, I think that was the year where they won a wild card spot, so they were probably seeded for. Um, but yeah, anyway,
I don't know. And it's not to say that this series isn't going to be a good series. The Yankees and the Guardians, I think it's going to be a good series. But
I couldn't. I hope that the Guardians pull through, and it's not because I have a hatred
um,
towards the Yankees, which is true. I just would like to see the youngest team in baseball
well,
press through
also
to at least the ALCS.
Miles Straw, baby.
Yeah, yes, I can't for one player pull it off, but good dude. Plus the youth of the team, I want to show people that like it's not all about salaries and stats.
Well, that's what makes the Mariners so fun to watch, I think. I mean, we
Yeah,
got to watch them all year because they're in our division, but that's a scary young team, man. Very scary. I mean, they're good.
that and I don't know. I just feel like they have some drastic ups and downs. I mean, Cleveland. I guess you could say that about everybody, right? You get hot, you get cold, you get cold, but I think the Mariner have more of a drastic transition in and out of those peaks and valleys, as
I just think
opposed
that's
to
because they are so young,
yeah, maybe that's true.
though. But another big snippet of news: Blink
This is
182 is back, dude.
hashtag snippet. Yeah.
Snippet.
Yes, it's crazy to me. Again, I don't know when it happened, but I listened to the Rod Ryan show every morning, and I think it was like I didn't get on until like 6:30 ish, or no, it was later than that, like 6:45, whenever Katie and them left. And like all I heard was Blink 182, but then I was getting in my truck, and so between the phone and getting in the truck, they had moved on to a different segment. And then pretty much for the next hour and a half, all they talked about was the fact that, and the promos they've been doing for it, killer.
Oh, yeah. I saw
Yeah.
the one ad they did this morning, or they released it this morning, I guess.
Yeah. And then they've done the bunny. Did you see the bunny costume one too?
I didn't see the bunny costume one, no.
Okay. So, yeah, there's just a bunch of good promo they've been doing. Obviously, they're releasing, and honestly, if this comes out on Friday, they're releasing a new single. We don't know if it's a single, but they're releasing a new track on Friday as well. We're assuming
Yeah.
that it's accompanied by a full-fledged album, but especially if they're going to be touring next year. But
Oh, they're doing a new album. I assume that this song is going to be off the album, but
yeah,
I don't know if they're gonna like do it as a single or if it'll be like a song off of the upcoming album
who
when they
knows?
release it or whatever.
They'll also be in H-Town in June, July.
I didn't even see that, but I'm
Yeah,
excited.
I think it's
Tom
June
is
or
back,
July.
dude.
Also,
It's
I
real
would love
blank
to.
this time.
I would love to know. Okay, what did they just do with Matt Skiba? What did they just do with him? Just, I mean, he wasn't very good, and I think they all knew that. He was just
I mean,
kind of
he
filling the
tried,
void.
he tried.
Yeah, I mean, not a bad guy, not a bad guy, and he didn't claim
You
to
know,
be like.
I think he sounded good, but it just wasn't them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Like if he would have, if he goes and does his own thing, maybe he'll be a little more successful. I just think he tried to come in. They tried to get him to come in and fill in the hole that you can't fill. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
It's like
I
trying to
think
replace George Strait. You know what I mean?
yeah, I think he knew that too. He never pushed that he was like one of the guys and that he was. I mean, they did a couple albums together. What did he come from? What was the band that he came from?
I don't remember. Wasn't he from like Switzerland or something?
No, 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 no. He's
Or
American.
Sweden?
Alkaline Trio. That's the name of the band. But he just or Alkaline, depending on where you're from. I don't know the you know wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. But I don't know. Yeah, he never claimed to be that he was like gonna be. He was the fill-in and he was the next generation. Like they put some albums together and he toured. But I think honestly, I don't want to say this, but I have to claim this. I think that was Mark and Travis's way of building momentum to convert Tom back. I think that was
Probably.
what it is.
They
I think
probably
that's what
did
it was.
that, and they probably went to him and they were like, "Do you see how hype people got for the backup?"
Yeah, exactly. For like the string, I'm not even gonna say second. For the third string, this is what we've accomplished. Like, there's a market for us still. Even I don't know.
25
Whew.
years later.
Oh, dude, more than that. Blink came out in like '89.
Yeah, 30 years later.
Yeah, so 30 something years later, there's
I
still. I
always
mean, they weren't
forget
in
they
their
were that old, man.
Oh yeah, they weren't in their prime until like the later '90s, but
Say late 90s, early 2000s.
yeah, but still, I mean, a
I mean, when
pretty.
was Enema of the State?
I'd say probably '99.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably late 90s, right?
Yeah, '99. Take off your pants and jacket would have probably been like 2001, two.
Yeah.
Right?
It blows my mind that like the Dookie album from Green Day.
Oh yeah,
That was the 80s.
'89. Yeah.
It's just
And
crazy to think.
timeless. What really blows my mind, and I know we're way off on a tangent here. Where you at on beer? Should we go to the Odell?
Yeah, we're
But
gonna make a switch up in a second.
so what really blows my mind is that if you listen to, like I said, I mentioned that I listen to the Rod Ryan show every morning, um, on 94.5 here. Like this, that's pluggish. It's not a plug, but it's pluggish, right?
94.5, The
The
Buzz.
Buzz, Houston's rocket alternative. But um, what's crazy to me,
We'll keep
if I
plugging if
would
they
have,
have us on.
I mean, dude, he's in. He would plug us for whatever. But um, the same, like, if you were to listen to 94.5, I mean, obviously there's a few people that trickle in that are different, but like the core of their music day after day, and that fills the basic of all of their primetime airspace are the same tunes that we were listening to in 2000, 2003. It's the same
Yeah.
tunes.
It's because it was
And
peak, man.
it was, but I'm also like, man, we have really had a pretty bad dry spell. At least mainstream radio, right? There's a rough dry spell.
I was having this conversation last weekend where we were just talking about how like new artists, new musicians are doing so much like sampling from older stuff, and
Hmm.
really anything you hear now is it either sounds like something from the past or it legit is something from the past just refurbished basically. And that's just true. I mean, it has nothing to do with like lack of creativity. I think it's just the fact that everything has been done. You know what I mean? Like as opposed to like doing some super weird like computer stuff, but for the most part, all music ever is guitar riffs, you know? And all of
Yeah.
them have been done.
So my question is, because I kind of feel similar, right? What do we do?
It's hard, man. It's hard to make anything else new that's gonna sound good
But I mean,
because you have to go so far off of like the pleasurable riffs that everybody likes, and it's just that's
I
why
mean,
some stuff sucks and why
but
other stuff sounds like old stuff, and you're like, hey, that's good, I like that.
but you have to ask yourself, like, where do we go then? That's even scarier
It is, but
because
that's why like those radio stations like and myself. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think I listen to very many new things anymore either.
but that historically has always happened, right? That historically has always been the case. In fact, I would tell you, there's only a few anomalies where I think that not to be the case. And what's crazy enough is like, not to get like, but Mom is one of them.
What, the early 2000 rocker?
No, no, I'm saying she's one that over the span of her life has always absorbed and integrated newer generational music than almost anyone I know. Because I'm still stuck in the ways of that, post grunge, pre alternative, 99 to well, I would say mid 90s um, to early 2000s as my core, right? Classic rock has its place and some other things. But I would say somebody who truly, like, just with open arms welcomed in whatever the new generation of trash was. I'm air quoting trash. Whatever the newest generation of trash was. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of unique.
Well, that's because she doesn't listen to the lyrics.
No, I know, but that neither here nor there. Well, oh, okay. So then that disqualifies her. If we're saying that no new sounds are being created, then yeah, she's just listening to this. Okay, I digress. You win. I take back. So
Yeah, she's
we're
just
all in
listening
the
to the same
same
sounds that
trash
she likes.
boat.
In fact, half the stuff that I do play that's newer, she's like, "Oh, that sounds like. What does that sound like? What does that sound like?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
So
I
are we
mean,
doing
that's just where we are with music. Yeah, let's switch it over.
Odell, which this one has Marzen written on the can here. If we just for the camera here,
Yeah, I gotta say,
October.
I like this can a lot better.
I
I
do
don't, I don't I
too,
don't
and
think the other one's bad. I think it's traditional and it's sleek and nice, but I like when places get fun with their art.
I agree. So, back as a refresher here, the Oktaylorfest, great play on words, based out of Taylor, Texas, by the Texas Beer Company. Crazy to me that a newer brewery out of Taylor could claim that name. But anywho, um,
Yeah, they
the
got lucky
Oktaylorfest,
on that one.
they did. But a little unoriginal. You know, uh, the Oktoberfest by Odell Brewing Company. I think Odell's out of what? Colorado.
I'm not
I don't
sure.
I don't know that to be fact, but I think I've actually been there, so that's why I was guessing. I'm gonna rinse my cup.
All right.
Keep things pure.
All right. Um yeah, I'm not exactly sure where it's from. I can look it up. I feel like I remember it being from Colorado whenever I was originally doing this. Originally making the list at least, but we can look it up really quick just to be sure.
I mean, there's like a 100% chance I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that I've been there. Fort Collins, Colorado.
Yeah, Fort
Yeah.
Collins.
I don't know where that is, but
It's in
ooh,
Colorado.
look at you.
So
Look at you.
the smell that
Okay.
I'm getting,
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Hey,
it smells pretty nice. Ooh, that's a nice color.
that's that is prime time color. Look, and oh man,
That's that's
I wish
six
I
out of six.
6 out of 6. I wish I almost had a comparison because you see how it's it's clear,
clear.
but because there is a false haziness to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, good Lord. This is gonna be. Oh, okay. Here we go.
I'm getting into it. That's good. I like that.
Okay. So
Now mine's been open for what, an hour almost?
yeah, how we doing on time? We should probably wrap in what, 15?
Yeah, but mine's been open for an hour, so fizz might have gone down a little bit. Um,
It's
as a
lacking a little bit. It's
as a
lacking a little bit in fizz.
okay, so maybe it's
And I
not
just
just me.
nope. I just popped mine. But again, this is comparing based on what we think Oktoberfest.
Yeah, I really like. I mean, the color is
Ooh.
spot on. The
Oh, spot
entry
on.
and the aftertaste, I think both are spot on.
Yeah. So here's what I mean, I don't want to rap right now, but
Now, what does the can say for ABVs on this one? Because I have 6.1.
yeah, 6.1.
Okay, so I got 6.1 on this, and the IBUs it says it's 19.
Really?
I don't think it's that
No,
bitter.
I would have thought significantly less than that, but I will tell you this. There's a couple of categories that it loses it. I think it wins comparing one to the other. I think it wins entry, it wins aftertaste, even though I'm not still super sold. Here, case in point, sir. Look, this one hasn't been open an hour.
Yeah.
Very little head left. But entry, um, it's going to be the winner there. Aftertaste is more desirable. Body for me, a little less, and maybe that's the haziness, the thickness that came from the Oktaylorfest, but a little less for me on the body. Color, killer. Bitterness, significantly better. Acidity, to me, it's still a little sweet, but significantly better than the other. And then fizz, I'm gonna say equivalent. Okay, which is not nothing to write home about. So it has some really great things about it. It definitely has some areas where it excels, but there are a few where it's equivalent to the Oktaylorfest that I felt were a little underwhelming to begin with.
Yeah. I think it definitely doesn't have like as much flavor, like as much body, I guess.
No, not
Um,
as much body.
but I don't think it's as sweet or as acidic the Oktoberfest, and I like that a lot more for an Oktoberfest beer.
I agree. Also, I think we've talked about this before, but I do not like sweet at all. That's why like cocktails for me are a problem. Even bourbons, right? If I'm gonna do whiskey, it needs to be a rye. Um, if I'm drinking anything, it has to be with unsweet. Like I don't do whiskeys and cokes or things like that. And so a beer to me should be like a coffee. It should be a bitter, not rough, but a an experience versus something that you enjoy.
But you don't like coffee beers, do you?
I'll do the occasional stout, but I don't want them like bad. I don't like blending. We've talked about this too. It's like I love seltzers, but I don't do alcoholic seltzers because they don't mix to me. And that's why I love coffee. I love beer, but I don't want to do coffee beers. They don't. I don't like to alcohol the things that I enjoy.
Okay. The alcoholic seltzers are too sweet for me.
Well, no, they just taste like straight liquor to me, which and a lot of them are sweet. You're right. A lot of them are sweet. So
The most specific when I think of sweetness in a seltzer is the Bud Light seltzers.
I
I had
haven't dabbled
I had one and I got about 3 sips in and I threw it away.
that bad. Hey, what's the? I was gonna say I saw it today. dude, they gotta. What's the? It's gotta be trash. Excuse me. It's gotta be trash. But what's the 0 calorie? I mean, sorry, not 0 calorie. 0 carb Bud Light. Have you seen this?
Dude. Yeah, what is it called?
I don't
It looks
know.
like a seltzer can, right?
Yes, it's packed. Well, a Michelob kind of looks like a seltzer can, but it's like a Michelob can, and it's
Did we
like
not try one of these?
I don't know, but it's maybe we did,
I think we
but
tried one this
the
summer,
cheapest. Oh, we definitely did, and
and
it
it
was like
just,
water in a Michelob can.
yeah, it was bad.
It was terrible.
We were thinking, I mean, not we went into it expecting it to be bad, and it was still bad.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
that's a very good way to put it. We
It
had
was more of just
extremely
like a
low
let's try it thing.
we had extremely low expectations, and it underdelivered.
Mm,
So
do with that what you will.
yeah,
It
I don't know
wasn't
what it's
great.
called, but I saw the packaging today, and the packaging even looks crap. It's almost like they just gave up.
It looks
I
like
bet you.
it looks like they gave the project to their like marketing intern.
Yeah, they
You
were
know,
like, "Look, dude,
that's
we've
the
got
unpaid intern.
we had a tank that they started washing out early, but we got to sell it. So, however you want to do that,
Yeah, it wasn't great.
who does to them?
Mhm. What was the
Summarizing.
do
Huh?
what?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Uh, you wanted to talk about something else before we got out of here, right?
Oh yeah, I do. Just because I have to clear my chest, I have to build the soapbox, stand on it, tear it down, and burn it based on my feelings for this next subject. Very brief, and then we can summarize how we feel about the beverages. For those LinkedIn users out there, I feel like I've narrowed it down to three categories of people that add you, and this is very irritating to me. Not the first two, but the last one, because that tends to be the bulk of the audience that's using LinkedIn. But if you're a LinkedIner, I don't know if that's the a proper term, like Facebooker or Instagrammer.
A
But
linky.
a linky, huh? You should, yeah, you got to trademark that.
Hashtag
Um,
linky.
if you're a linky, then, and by the way, nobody's doing this. I don't know why I'm doing this. Nobody's done this since SNL in like 2006. But
Broken Bat.
anyways, if you're a linky, right? That's the terminology. If you're linky, there's three types of ads that you're gonna get, right? As far as folks are concerned, you're gonna get, or the three types of people that you approach. You're gonna get that ad of like somebody that's important that maybe later on in life you're gonna need to connect with to either advance your career or later down the line they're gonna be a mentor. You're gonna want their input, or you like the content that they share because it's beneficial to you day in and day out. You don't necessarily know the person, but you're adding them because they're powerful within the linkers. Try to make it work there. But anyways, they're powerful within the LinkedIn community. You like their content, it's good for you. You like to consume it, it's honest. You add them. That's okay. Completely cool. Then there's the second, which is like, hey, I just met this person in person, like physically met them. Which, by the way, this isn't happening on any other social media ever. You're normally meeting them on social media, and then later
And
maybe
then
you
in
meet them in
person.
life.
Yeah.
Exactly. But in LinkedIn, it's kind of the opposite. So you've met this person in real life, based on what you do for a living, or because maybe you saw them, and then afterwards, then you're like, oh, I should add them on LinkedIn. So look, we've already made the connection, the real connection as human beings. So then you're going to add them on LinkedIn because you'd like to stay connected, right? That's completely, again, those two scenarios 100% fine. And then the last scenario, which unfortunately happens to be the most prevalent, is the add somebody random and then immediately try to sell them on whatever the hell it is that you're selling. And it's there's a meme. This is what brought it to my attention. There was a meme that was like, well, that escalated quickly because that's exactly how it is. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, I don't know you from Joe Blow, but I've got five invites in my inbox. And it's almost like they know each other. And I will add them because I'm a good human being. And maybe I think of the first two scenarios. Maybe I'm sharing content or delivering content that they like, or um, maybe we have met and I just don't necessarily remember them. That's the case. No, no, no. They add me and immediately they're like, "Hey, I would love to set up a time to talk about," and I'm like, "Nope, that's not what I'm into it for."
Yeah.
Or, "Hey, I realized that you could do," nope, that's not what I'm in for. We saw your expertise and thought, nope, that's not what I'm into it for. You add me for content because you like what I'm sharing, or you add me because we've met physically. Other than that, LinkedIn, you do not get to conform to the other characteristics of any other social media.
Yeah.
So I'm going to step
That's
down from my soapbox. I'm done.
so me. I don't really network as much as you do because you're doing it more than I am.
Right.
So I'm not like getting out and meeting people. So 90% of the interactions that I have on LinkedIn are the last one you described, where it's people adding me and then immediately trying to sell me on something.
Yeah. And I would say for me, it's probably 60%, but like that's overwhelming to me. Like
Yeah.
that, 40% is legit, like just people because we come across, we're in the same circles or they know other people or whatever, or like the content that we share or whatever. And by the way, it's not like I do content sharing for a living. It's just like obviously I like things on LinkedIn and like I follow people on LinkedIn that I like their content, so it gets around, right? The algorithm works. But it's just mind blowing to me the volume of people that are like, "Hey, this guy's a warm body," and then they just add you, and then they're like, "He's a warm body that can also communicate," and then boom, you should buy X, Y, and Z from overseas, and I'm like, "What? No,
Oh,
I
dude,
don't."
I had one lady that added me and just was trying to have like a normal conversation with me. Never met her in my life before, right? Just
Yeah,
added me on LinkedIn and I was like, do I know you from somewhere? And she was just like, well, no, isn't LinkedIn about networking? And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, right? And so we're just like having a normal conversation and then out of nowhere, she's just like, hey, do you invest? And I was like, no, I don't. I don't really have the money to do that right now. And she just just kept haggling, kept going at it. And I was like, listen, lady, this is not what I added you for, okay?
and there's another scenario that pops up a lot of times. Not, I mean, still falls in this category, but along those lines. Um, I, about me just screams franchisee.
Yeah.
Okay. But apparently, I have franchisee written all over everything that's in my LinkedIn profile. Because I know this is a cliche saying, but if I had a nickel for every time a franchisee or a franchiser came to me and was like, "Hey, you should open a franchise," I would actually probably buy one because I have that much money.
Yeah.
Anyways, I digress on that. It just frustrates me to no end. I'm sure there's other people out there that feel the same exact way. I know this isn't the kind of conversation where we're like, "Hey, drop us a comment and let us know how you feel," based on the 6 audience members maybe that are going to listen to this, but I do feel that other people feel my frustration, and I'd like to know. Are you also constantly getting closed by strangers that just sent you a request?
It's not just you. It's like the social media version of cold calling.
It is,
They
but
just
it's
straight up they just go for it, you know?
but here's the thing that's even worse, man. Like think about all other social media. Like if it like okay, so on Instagram, if you get like one of those real random shady ads, like hey, they ain't like they're only following 500 people, but nobody follows them. Like she's in like maybe half of a swimsuit kind of thing. Like that's rigged, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like that's a fake. But on LinkedIn, they all seem like real people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's
Yeah,
no
it doesn't
red
seem
flag.
like a robot.
No red flag until after you add them. That's the problem with LinkedIn.
Yeah. There's no obvious offset.
No. You're like, oh, there's too many numbers in that area code kind of thing. Like that's not happening on LinkedIn. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Oh, is the first letter of her name a symbol? Nah, that's
Mm.
not happening on
Why do
LinkedIn.
they
You know
got
what I mean?
7 numbers at the end of their at?
Exactly.
You
Right?
know? Yeah.
Yeah. Is she wearing 3 different hats in her profile picture kind of thing? No, that's not happening on LinkedIn. They look like honest human beings, but immediately they want to hassle you. Here's the other thing that really gets me. Sorry, we're going on a tangent here, but here's the other thing that gets me. More so than any other, like at least the gals or even guys. I'm sure there's a market that's targeting females too, but the gals on LinkedIn, I mean, sorry, on Instagram at least, with the symbols in their name and the 900 numbers after their they're going to send you a message about, hey, you should definitely add me. And you're not going to add them. And then that's the only message that you'll ever get. Okay?
Yeah.
That's just the way it works. But on LinkedIn, no, no, no.
Oh no,
You
it
will
keeps
not
going.
respond to the first franchisee request. And within 3 days, they're like, hey, not sure if you saw my message, but I'd love to circle back. And I'm like, oh, there's no circle here. This was a flat line to begin with. And that flat line equates to a busy signal or a dial tone because I'm not answering the phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anywho,
This flat line is the heartbeat of this conversation. It's not.
a-
There is
absolutely.
not. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much
Yeah, let's
all the time
let's
we've got.
good transition. Let's switch the old gears here.
Yeah. Speaking about a flat line, this is the end of the episode.
We beat that one to death, dude. How
Look
many
at
puns can
that.
we come up with? Set a timer.
Wow.
No, 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 no. We're gonna close out. Huh?
Close
Yeah.
out.
Anyways, okay, all right. Where did
Um.
you end up?
So out of the seven categories that we did, my numbers came back for the Texas Beer Company at a total of 23 for the Oktaylorfest. And
Okay.
then for Odell Brewing, I got 32.
Ooh, okay. So I thought we were going to be a little more aligned. You're competing against yourself, which I think is what's important about this,
Yeah.
right? So for the Oktaylorfest, I got a 21.
Okay.
Eh, pretty close. 23, 21. And for the Odell, I have a 27.
Okay.
And a couple of comments I want to make. Obviously, in entry, Odell wins. Aftertaste, Odell wins. In body, the Odell does not win.
Yeah. I'm with you
Um,
on there.
in color, the Odell wins. In
Yes.
bitterness, the Odell wins by a good long shot for me. In acidity, the Odell wins. And in fizz, they were equal.
Okay. I pretty much had all the same. The entry, I had Odell winning 6-5.
Okay.
Aftertaste, I had them winning 6-2.
Okay.
Uh, Body, I had them losing 2-3.
Okay.
Color, they won 6-5. I thought the Texas beer was hazy, but it still had a good color to it.
Okay,
So
so
I
I
gave it a few
actually,
points.
you're right. I actually want to correct my score though. The haziness for me is going to be a problem. So I brought it down by 1 point. So my Oktoberfest is actually a 20.
Okay,
But go
that's
ahead. Yes,
that's
I agree.
understandable. Bitterness, I think I got the Odell winning 5-2. Um, I just thought that it was the Oktoberfest was a little too bitter for an Oktoberfest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Acidity again 5-2 in favor of Odell. Wasn't near as sweet. Had more of a traditional Oktoberfest flavor for me. And Fizz, I had it losing 2-4.
Really? Okay. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
here's the good thing about
but
this.
but again, I mean, you did pour them out, and the head lasted longer on the Oktoberfest. I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Uh, Again, for me, I want to restate that both of mine were opened at the same time, and I didn't taste the Odell until 40 minutes
Hour.
after it had been opened.
Okay. So there's a couple of things to note. What was your Oktoberfest score?
Overall,
Yeah.
23.
All right, hold on, let me. Okay. So 23. And then um what was your Odell?
32.
32. So That's a span of 9 points. And this is why I like this system. Okay. So real quick, I have Odell winning 4-3 for entry.
Okay.
All right. I have them winning 3-2 for aftertaste. I still wasn't completely sold on aftertaste for either one of them. I have Odell losing 3-4 for body. In color, there is no better color. This is a 6 for me color wise. And then because of the haziness on the Octaylor, I have them at a 4. So Odell's winning 6-4. Bitterness, Odell 5, um, Oktaylor a 3. Acidity, we agreed very similarly. I'm going to give the Odell a 4 and the Oktaylorfest a 2. And then Fizz for me overall, they were both extremely underperformers. So they were even at a 2. So even though my scale is one way, your scale is another way, one way up or down, my span of points is 7, your span of points is 9. And that's pretty damn accurate for span, regardless of how
Yeah.
they work, right? Because a 4 in your head might be a 3 in my head, but that means that my 5 is only 1 point more than a 4, and yours, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's the span. It's not the overall rating. It's more so the span between individuals, which makes things a little more fluent, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool. So you can lock them in. I'm giving the Oktaylorfest a 20, and I will give the Odell a 27. Also, too, mind you, I don't know if you have this level of confidence, but like I feel very confident now having two under our belt of what a 6 entry is, what a 6 bitterness is, what a 6 body is, what a 6 color is. Like, I have a lot more confidence in myself in determining that for myself based on the two that we've already drank. And,
Yeah.
and the foundation of Sam Adams.
Right. Again, mine is compare.
Yeah.
You know, I'm comparing to a St. Arnold's Oktoberfest, and a lot of the same qualities. There was a lot of the same qualities in the Odell that I liked. That reminded me of a St. Arnold's. So
Yes.
that's why a lot of mine were sixes, because that's how I view it. You know.
And that's completely fine. I just the confidence I have in one to the because we're going through Oktoberfest, but at one to the next in this is greatly increased after this exercise, if you will.
And things might change for me in the future. You know, if I have another one that I think is better than a St. Arnold's, then I have to adjust my scale a little bit. But for now, I'm pretty good, pretty confident in this.
And now we come to the segment of the show where everyone's going to help us work on a catchphrase.
Yeah, you gotta get something.
Um, I don't have any suggestions, but let's keep that feather in our. No, a feather in a cap means like kind of like a bird in the hand. Mine,
Right.
I run dry on analogies, but ultimately we need to mind ourselves that next week we need some type of catchphrase inspired by beer and or subject matter that we like to discuss.
Yeah, we'll have to figure something out.
Yeah. Until
But
next week.
yep. And for now, don't forget to follow us on socials. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've forgotten some of them. I'm pretty sure they're just off the tap podcast or off the tap pod. I'll get that figured out for next week. But
Yeah, yeah. What kind of presents we got? Is that like Facebook, Tinder, Grinder? Yeah, is that
yeah,
where?
we're gonna hit
What?
us up on Grinder.
Okay.
No, we got a Twitter and an Instagram.
Okay, I might
Um,
have to get Twitter then.
yeah, so we post and we have a TikTok too, but your boy's a little boomer when it comes to TikTok. I don't really know how it works.
Ooh,
So
dude, good phrasing. I was gonna go un-TikTok savvy, but TikTok boomer is better.
yeah, I like the content, but I don't know how it works. So mainly
Yeah.
on Twitter for posting and doing polls and whatnot if we get to that point, but Instagram for bracket updates when we do tournament style stuff. In this case, we're gonna do a tier list type thing. So at the end, we'll release a tier list for both of us. some topics will include Mount Rushmores of things at some point. So we'll do that kind of imagery as well on Instagram and Twitter probably. But
Ultimately, the messaging is if it's off the tap, find it, regardless of the media that you choose to intake.
yeah,
If we're not out there, let us know, and we will get out there.
yes,
And I'm
I'll
just gonna
try to.
I'm just gonna throw this ship to sail. Until next week, make sure to keep the fizz.